My beloved brothers and sisters, there was a moment in your life, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in sujood, maybe through tears no one else saw, when you turned to Allah with a heart shattered in silence. You begged Him for relief. You cried for strength. You promised to change, to return, to live differently, if only He would ease the pain. And Allah heard you. You see, in your lowest moments, your soul was the most sincere. That pain broke your ego. It opened your heart to Allah in a way comfort never could. And in that vulnerability, you made a promise, Ya Allah, I won't go back to who I was. But time passed. Life became easier. And the very pain that humbled you began to fade, along with the promise you made. This reminder is here to bring it back, not to shame you, but to revive the strength and sincerity you had when you were broken. Because Allah didn't forget what you said. And if you return to that moment with love and humility, not only will He forgive you, He will raise you higher than before. This is your wake-up call. Don't forget what you promised Allah when all you had was Him. 1. When pain turns into a promise. There are moments in life when pain speaks louder than words. When the weight of what you're going through brings you to your knees, not in weakness but in desperation. And it's there, in the silence of sujood or the stillness of your tears, that something remarkable happens. You don't just cry to Allah, you promise, not out of pressure, but from sincerity born in suffering. It's often when everything is stripped away that your heart finally speaks its deepest truth. Ya Allah, if you just ease this burden, I'll change, I'll return, I'll leave what you dislike, I'll do better. That moment of raw vulnerability becomes sacred, because it's the moment your ego is quiet, your distractions are gone, and all that remains is your soul reaching for its creator. Pain has a way of softening the hardest hearts. It reminds us that we were never in control. It humbles us before the one who always was. The person who never prayed starts praying. The one who was distant finds themselves whispering Allah's name through sobs. In that brokenness, a door opens and from it comes a vow no one else hears, but Allah never forgets. The promise made in pain is unlike any other. It's not motivated by worldly desire, it's pulled from the depth of your soul. When the world turns its back, when your strength fails, and all you can do is cry, help me, Ya Allah, that's not weakness. That's your heart turning back to its origin. That's the beginning of real change. Sometimes, Allah allows the pain not to punish, but to purify. He knows what it takes to wake you up, to shake you from heedlessness, to bring you back to Him. And He sees that promise you made when no one else did. The world may forget, but Allah doesn't. And that promise becomes the seed of your transformation. Don't ever underestimate what came from that broken moment. The dua you whispered in sujood, the intention you made while wiping tears from your pillow. That was not small, that was sincerity. And sincerity is beloved to Allah. Even if you've slipped since then, He still remembers the way your heart reached for Him in the darkness. In the Quran, we find so many examples of pain leading to promises. Yunus, in the belly of the whale, cried out in surrender. Ayub, in illness, turned to Allah with dignity. Maryam, under the date tree, called out in anguish. Each one was broken, each one reached for Allah, and each one was lifted by their promise and prayer. Your promise was a turning point, not because life changed instantly, but because you did. And the beauty of that promise is that Allah doesn't expect perfection after it. He expects persistence. A single step toward Him after that pain carries more weight than 1,000 done in comfort. Because it came from the real you, not the distracted, rushed version, but the soul laid bare. You may feel like you've drifted since then, that you broke the promise or forgot the vow, but Allah hasn't. His door never closed. He waits with mercy, not anger. If anything, the fact that you're remembering it now is a sign He's calling you back. Not to shame you, but to elevate you through that same sincerity you once showed Him. The pain may have faded, but let the promise remain. You don't need another storm to remind you of who you wanted to become. Reignite that moment. Make it your fuel, your anchor. You're not starting from zero. You're returning to a point where your heart was real. That's not a regression. That's a revival. The life you promised Allah in your hardship was a glimpse of who you truly are. Not the broken version, but the honest one. The one who knew that nothing in this world could save them except Allah. Hold on to that version. Let that promise become your path, not one ruled by fear, but by faith. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be sincere again. So remember, your pain was not in vain. Your tears were not unseen. And the promise you made wasn't a moment of weakness, it was a moment of awakening. Rise now, not with guilt, but with hope. Allah heard you. He still remembers. Now live like you do too. The dua you made in tears. There is a kind of dua that doesn't come from the tongue, it comes from the soul. It's not planned or polished. It's cried out in pain, in desperation, in a whisper only Allah hears. That's the dua you made when your heart was heavy, your body weak, and your world collapsing. It wasn't eloquent, but it was real, and real dua is never rejected. You may not remember every word you said that night, but Allah does. The tear that slid down your cheek, the tremble in your voice, the way your chest tightened, all of it was witnessed. And the one who hears even the thoughts you don't speak responded to your pain long before the words left your lips. He knew what your heart needed most. There's a secret in those broken du'as. They carry more power than 1,000 repeated ones spoken in ease, because they come from a place of truth, no pride, no pretense. Just a servant calling out, Ya Allah, help me. That's what makes the skies move. That's what makes the angels say Ameen. And that's what brings down the mercy you can't even comprehend. In the Quran, the most powerful du'as often come from people in pain. Yunus, in the belly of the whale. Zakaria, longing for a child. Ayub, are covered in illness. Their voices weren't loud, but their sincerity was. And that sincerity reached Allah instantly, because the distance between a broken heart and its Rabb is the shortest of all. You may wonder, but I'm still waiting. Was my dua accepted? Understand, this dua is not a transaction. It's a transformation. Sometimes the answer is given in a different form. Sometimes the relief comes in the heart before it comes in the situation. And sometimes Allah delays to raise your rank, not to deny you, but to prepare something better than you imagined. If your dua brought you closer to Allah, then it was already accepted. If it softened your heart, cleansed your soul, humbled your ego, that was an answer. Don't measure its worth by how quickly the dunya changed. Measure it by how deeply your connection to Allah grew. That growth is priceless. That's the kind of response only trials can teach. Never think your tears were wasted. Not a single drop that fell in sujood, not a single breathless whisper was ignored. Allah is Ash-Shafi, the healer. He collects your sorrow like a gardener collects rain to grow something beautiful in your life later. You may not see it yet, but in the unseen, something is already unfolding for you. The Prophet ﷺ told us, dua is worship. That means every time you cried out to Allah, even before you saw a result, you were engaged in something sacred. Don't be disheartened by delays. The skies may not have opened the way you wanted, but your heart did. And sometimes that's the miracle. A heart that still believes after the storm. Remember, the night you made that dua might be long past, but it still echoes in the heavens. Allah is never in a rush. He doesn't forget. He doesn't neglect. He responds at the perfect time, in the perfect way, with a wisdom far greater than ours. What you asked for in weakness, He may give you in strength when you're truly ready to hold it. Even if your situation didn't change overnight, you did. You became more aware, more sincere, more reliant. That growth is part of the dua's answer. You didn't come out empty, you came out refined. Sometimes the trial was never meant to break you, it was meant to reshape you into someone stronger in faith and softer in heart. Keep making that dua even if your voice shakes, even if your faith feels small. The dua you made in tears wasn't just heard, it was honored. The same Allah who listened then is listening now. And He is more merciful than you can ever imagine. His response may not always match your request, but it will always match your need. So don't stop asking, don't stop crying, don't stop hoping. The dua you made in tears was never forgotten. It may be the reason doors open years from now. It may be the reason Allah protects you from harm you never saw. It may be the reason your heart finds peace long after the storm has passed. Keep praying, because Allah always listens. 3. Allah listened even when you whispered. There are moments when the pain is so deep, the only thing you can manage is a whisper. Your lips barely move, your voice trembles, and no one around you notices. But Allah does, because He is As-Sami', the all-hearing, not just of loud cries, but of silent ones, not just of public prayers, but of private pleadings in the stillness of your night. You didn't need to raise your hands or cry aloud to be heard. The whisper of Ya Allah, help me at tomb reached the heavens. That quiet dua, made with a shattered heart and a hopeful soul, was not missed. Because Allah is not like His creation. He hears what's not even spoken. He listens to what's buried in your chest, the dua you didn't even know how to make. When the Prophet Zakaria made his dua for a child, the Quran says, he called to his Lord in a soft voice, and in that softness was power. Allah responded not because the request was shouted, but because it was sincere. You don't need volume for your prayer to matter. You need connection. And your whisper may have been your loudest moment with Allah. Allah listens in ways we cannot comprehend. He listens to the fear in your chest, the questions in your mind, the ache in your soul. You may have felt alone in your pain, but you were never abandoned. In fact, those moments of whispering to your Lord may have been the most spiritually intimate of your entire life. Sometimes you whispered not because you didn't believe, but because you had no strength left. Even your breath felt heavy. But even that weak, whispered dua was wrapped in sincerity, and that's what Allah cherishes most. He doesn't judge you for your exhaustion. He honors your effort, your quiet struggle, your unseen faith. You might wonder, was it enough? Did Allah really hear me? Yes, without a doubt. He heard you before the words reached your lips. He knew your plea before it was formed. And sometimes He responds not with words or signs, but with peace. A quiet calm in your heart that tells you, I am here. That feeling, that's His response too. Remember Hajar Ra'a running between Safa and Marwa. She didn't scream for help, she ran in desperation. Her actions were her prayer, and Allah listened. From her struggle came Zamzam, a spring that still flows today. Her story reminds us, Allah listens not just to sound, but to movement, to effort, to the sincerity behind every step. Your whisper may not have changed your situation instantly, but it changed your heart. And that's how transformation begins. When you whisper to Allah, you're saying, I still believe. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm unsure, even if I'm weak, I believe. You hear me? That belief is a light. And in Islam, even the smallest light is honored. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, your Lord is shy to turn away the hands of His servant empty when He raises them to Him. So imagine how He responds when His servant, broken and weary, whispers their need. He doesn't ignore it. He treasures it because it shows humility, faith, and a heart choosing Allah over everything else. Even the whisper you thought was too small, too unworthy, too late was not lost. Allah is Al-Halim, the most forbearing. He waits, He listens, He responds in ways we may never fully grasp. And one day, you'll realize that whisper became the reason for a door that opened, a burden that lifted, a peace that returned. Some of the most powerful shifts in your life will come not from grand gestures, but from whispered du'as. Because in whispers, there's no performance, just truth, just raw sincerity. And that's what Allah wants from you, not perfection, not eloquence, just your heart turning to Him, even in a whisper. The fact that you whispered to Allah instead of running to the world shows your reliance. That's tawakkul, that's love, that's worship. It means you knew only He could truly understand what you were carrying. Only He could truly lift it. And that knowledge, even when unspoken, is one of the highest forms of faith. Sometimes Allah delays His response, not because He didn't hear you, but because He wanted you to keep whispering, to keep turning back. Because every whisper built a deeper bond. Every night you came to Him softly, He came closer to you with mercy. And in that relationship, you found what you were really searching for, nearness. So don't stop whispering. Even if it's just, Ya Allah, make it easy. Even if it's a single tear on your pillow. Even if it's a breathless, forgive me. Allah hears it all. And one day, when your life shifts, you look back and realize it wasn't the loud cries that changed everything. It was the whisper he never stopped listening to. 4. The silent vows of the broken heart. There's a kind of promise that's never spoken out loud, but it's real. It's made in the stillness of heartbreak, in the depths of sujood, or in the tears that no one sees. These are the silent vows of the broken heart. No one else may hear them, but Allah does. And in His eyes, they carry more weight than 1,000 loud declarations. When your heart breaks, your soul often rises. That pain strips away your pride, your distractions, your dependence on the world. And in that moment, you find yourself saying things not with your tongue, but with your sincerity. Ya Allah, I'll leave this for you. Ya Allah, just heal me and I'll return to you. These are sacred. These are heard. Allah knows when the promise comes from your wound, not your willpower. He knows that the vow was made while you were shattered, not because you were strong. And that's what makes it beautiful. He doesn't expect you to be perfect, only honest. And sometimes the most honest prayers are the quietest ones, made through tears. The broken heart is one of the most sincere vessels of worship. It doesn't pretend, it doesn't perform, it just begs. And from that begging comes a promise. I won't go back to what broke me. I'll change. I'll give up what I once chased. You may never say it aloud, but Allah knows when your soul means it. Think of the woman who turns away from haram after heartbreak, or the man who comes back to salah after losing someone. They don't announce their vow, but it lives inside them. That shift, that return, that quiet, Ya Allah, guide me now, is a promise more sacred than any public oath. And Allah honors it. In the Quran, we see broken hearts making silent vows. Yunus didn't scream. He whispered his remorse. Maryam didn't shout. She cried beneath the palm tree. Their pain didn't need volume. It needed sincerity. And Allah responded. He raised them because He heard what others didn't. Sometimes, the vow is just an internal decision. I can't live like this anymore. I need to return to prayer. I'll let go of what's haram. No fanfare, no big announcements. Just a private moment between you and your Lord. That's enough. Because Allah sees the shift, even if the world never does. The broken heart's vow is not always about words. It's about direction. You start walking differently, praying more, falling less. Not because you're suddenly better, but because you're aware. The pain made you alert. The loss made you real. And that change, though quiet, is the beginning of healing. Allah does not belittle the small, silent promises. The intention you made while lying awake at night. The resolve you whispered after sin. The quiet plan to change after crying in sujood. These are the moments the angels record. These are the vows that open the doors of divine mercy. You may break the vow, fall short or relapse, but don't let that erase the sincerity of the original moment. Allah knew you meant it. He knew you were trying. So He gives you another chance, again and again, because the vow wasn't about being flawless, it was about being real with your Creator. There is no vow more sacred than the one made in vulnerability, when you had no strength left. When all you could do was say, Ya Allah, I can't keep living like this. That sentence, spoken from a cracked heart, is stronger than any speech made in confidence. Allah cherishes that level of truth. If you ever feel like the world has moved on and forgotten what you went through, remember Allah didn't. He remembers the night you cried, the moment you chose Him over sin, the day you said, enough. The minute you promised to change, He remembers and He responds, even if the world never saw it. Silent vows don't need to be repeated daily. Their strength lies in their sincerity. Even if you've never spoken about it again, Allah is still holding that moment between you and Him, waiting for you to come back to it, to rise again, to try once more, because He knows you meant it. So, don't underestimate what your broken heart whispered in the dark. That vow you made, it was not lost. It wasn't small, it wasn't forgotten. Allah Al-Hafiz, the Preserver, kept it. And He is patient with you as you try to live up to it, because He loves the hearts that return to Him, especially the broken ones. Let that silent vow be your reminder. You may have fallen since then, but you also rose once, and you can rise again, not because you are strong, but because the one you made the vow to is the most merciful. And He never stops listening to the broken heart that whispers, Ya Allah, I'm trying. 5. Don't return to what you begged to be freed from. There was a time you were desperate for escape. You begged Allah to take you out of something that was breaking your soul. Maybe it was a relationship, a sin, an addiction, or a lifestyle that kept you distant from who you truly were. And when it finally ended, it wasn't just an ending, it was an answered dua. So don't go back. You cried in sujood, Ya Allah, I can't live like this anymore. You promised to change. You swore you'd walk away if He just gave you strength. That moment wasn't small, it was sacred. That plea was written, preserved, and responded to. And now that you're free, don't let comfort fool you into returning to what once crushed you. Sometimes we forget how heavy it was, how dark the nights were, how lost we felt. Shaitan whispers that maybe it wasn't so bad, but your dua tells the truth. You didn't cry for no reason. You didn't beg Allah because you were comfortable, you were drowning, and Allah pulled you out. Don't dive back into what nearly destroyed you. There's a reason Allah removed it. He heard what no one else did. He saw the toll it took on your heart. He witnessed the way your soul dimmed, your salah weakened, your peace disappeared. He responded to your suffering with mercy. So honor that mercy. Don't trade your freedom for another round of pain. The enemy of your soul wants you to forget how far you've come. He wants to tempt you back to old habits by masking them as comfort or nostalgia. But the believer remembers. The believer protects the progress made through pain. You didn't survive all of that to break again by choice. You're stronger than that now. Think of the Israelites after being saved from Pharaoh only to crave the life they left behind. Allah reminds us in the Quran how dangerous it is to long for what you once pleaded to escape. It's not just a step backward, it's a test. Will you trust the freedom He gave, or will you chase the chains you once hated? When Allah takes something away, it's not a loss, it's a redirection. He knows what harms you even when you don't. You may miss it, feel lonely, even cry. That's okay. Healing takes time. But don't confuse pain with permission. Just because it hurts doesn't mean you should go back. Growth often hurts more than the wound itself. You asked for peace. And sometimes peace comes at the cost of people, habits, or dreams. But what Allah replaces it with is far greater. A cleaner heart, a quieter mind, a soul that begins to breathe again. Don't let a temporary moment of weakness undo what Allah has been building inside you. Every time you feel the urge to return, remember who you were when you left. The tears, the anxiety, the guilt, the numbness. That version of you doesn't deserve to be revived. You're not just moving on, you're protecting the prayer you made when no one saw you suffering. That prayer deserves loyalty. In Islam, we're taught to repent and not return. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best of those who err are the ones who keep repenting, not repeating. Falling is human, but falling by choice back into what broke you is a betrayal of your own healing. Respect your recovery. Respect your dua. You didn't just survive, you evolved. The test was part of your transformation. Don't seek love in what harmed you. Don't seek relief in what once drowned you. Your heart is wiser now. And every step away from that darkness is a step closer to the light Allah wants for you. Sometimes what pulls us back isn't desire, it's loneliness. But know this, being alone with Allah is better than being surrounded by anything that pulls you away from Him. Choose solitude with sincerity over company that costs you your peace. That's not loneliness, that's spiritual clarity. If you slipped, don't give up, but don't settle either. Return to your promise. Remind yourself, I asked Allah to take this away, and He did. That's not a coincidence, that's divine love. Honor it by walking forward, even if it's slow. Even if you miss what you left behind, because you miss the illusion, not the reality. Freedom comes with responsibility. You're no longer who you were. You're someone who was heard by Allah, and that's not a small thing. Now it's your turn to prove that the prayer you made wasn't temporary. Let your actions say, Ya Allah, I meant it. I'm not going back. So guard your turning point. Protect your peace. Cherish your healing. What you begged Allah to free you from once had power over you, now it doesn't. Don't hand that power back. You were rescued for a reason. Live like you remember the storm and walk firmly toward the light. 6. Staying loyal to your turning point. There's a sacred moment in every believer's life, a turning point. It may come after heartbreak, failure, loss, or a powerful reminder that shook your heart awake. In that moment, you made a choice to come back to Allah, to walk away from what was pulling you down. Staying loyal to that moment is where your real strength begins. The turning point wasn't just a feeling, it was a shift in direction. It might have been in sujood, while crying on your pillow, or in a quiet drive when your soul whispered, I can't live like this anymore. That decision was witnessed by Allah, and He opened a door for you. Now the test is, will you keep walking through it? Shaitan doesn't mind if you feel inspired. He fears when you become consistent. That's why your turning point is attacked after the emotion fades. Doubts creep in, old habits whisper again. But if you hold on, even if you're crawling, you're already winning. Because staying loyal isn't about perfection, it's about perseverance. Every great transformation in the Quran began with a moment of return followed by a life of loyalty. Yusuf alayhi salam was tested for years, yet he stayed true to his character. Yunus turned back to Allah in the darkness and never looked back. Your turning point is sacred, and loyalty to it shapes your legacy. You might feel alone on this new path. It may seem like others don't understand your change. Some may question your sincerity, but Allah knows, and if He guided you once, He'll guide you again. Don't let people's doubts erase what Allah planted in your heart. Protect it, nurture it. It's a seed that can grow into your salvation. Being loyal means showing up even when motivation disappears. It's praying when you don't feel spiritual, staying away from what you left behind even when no one's watching. This is where sincerity is proven, not in the moment of emotion, but in the quiet battle to stay true when the excitement fades. Your turning point might feel distant now. Life moved on. You've stumbled. You may even wonder if you lost it. But Allah is not like people. He doesn't expect you to remain unchanged, only that you keep returning. That first sincere step was real. Reignite it. Start again. Loyalty doesn't expire, it revives. Loyalty to your turning point means not romanticizing what you walked away from. The sin, the distraction, the lifestyle, it had its comfort, but it cost you your peace. You didn't leave it for no reason. Don't let loneliness or nostalgia blur the reality. You chose growth over temporary relief. That choice still matters. Think of Hajar in the desert. Her turning point was trusting Allah in complete uncertainty. But she didn't stop after one run. She kept going between the hills 7 times. That is loyalty. Not waiting for instant results, but repeating the effort with hope. Allah saw every step, and He sees yours too. There will be days when you fall short, when your